Okay. What are the saddest things? Because Elsie gets our referrals for some of the cases that people, they refer the dog problems to us. And what was the saddest case that you've ever had to work on, and how this person or owner could have prevented this thing from taking place? Yeah.
Well, so I'll just lump it together. I won't speak about one particular person, but many of them can't take their dogs out of their cages and give them baths because they're scared of the dog. They're scared the dog's going to bite them. So their dogs end up with matted hair. They never really get out of their cages, which is very sad because dogs don't like to eliminate in the same place that they sleep and eat, right? And if you can't take your dog out of the cage, then that's what's going to happen. That's very, very sad. And they couldn't even bring the dog to pause for an assessment or for training or for a vaccination because they were scared of their dog.
Wow.
And all that they could, what they could have done was, when the dog was still young, was actually to give it some exercise, to relate to it properly, to give it proper training using positive reinforcement methods. Punishing a dog, hitting it, is going to make the dog distrust you. And if the dog distrusts you, the dog's not going to allow you to handle him. So you can't bathe him, you can't touch him, you can't bring him around.
So if that happens, if it has come to that point, is it entirely hopeless for the dog owner? Or what are the options for her or him at that point when it's grown so big and they're scared to touch it, they can't give it a bath, they can't even bring it to pause? What are the things that we usually recommend at this point?
Well, we have to ask the owner, what do you want to do with the dog, right? Because after all, it's their dog. If they want the dog to be a companion, that means they really need to rethink the way they relate to the dog. They have to choose to give it the time and attention it needs. Okay, so and that means bringing it in for an assessment, training it, getting its trust back. Working with the dog so that the dog starts to trust them again, and it's entirely possible. The dogs at the shelter, they've gone through huge things. Like they've been abandoned, they've been hurt. You've seen them, right? And yet we can work with them and make them trust us. We can gain their trust because we invest our time. Our volunteers are wonderful. They go in there, they work with the dogs, they build bonds with the dogs, and they can teach the dogs many things.
Okay, so it's not the dog, it's like how the person,
how you relate to the dog.
Person wants to invest in it. Because if you've decided I'm not going to invest, I don't have the time, then
they might as well never have had a dog.
Yeah.
Getting any living creature and bringing it into your life is a huge commitment, and you need to think about it before you bring that living thing into your life. Once you have it there, you have to live up to that responsibility that you promised it.
Yeah. Well, at this point, we'd like to thank the volunteers who spend a lot of time training the dogs. John Tangkeco, Johnny Capignon, Elaine Vigilia. I think her name is her last name is Vigilia. But Elaine, you've done a wonderful job with our dogs at the shelter, and thank you for the time you've spent with them. I'd also like to thank one of our donors, Mrs. Myra Brodette. Miss Brodette, if you are listening, thank you so much for the support that you sent for Pause Today to enable us to continue our work for the animals. Hi also to my friend Ining and her pet dog Klondike. And thank you to our regular listeners. We even have Mr. Ted Teodoro, who listens all the way from New York. I hear that we are live in New York at 7:30 a.m. instead of p.m. So, wow, we have international listeners. And I know my mom's listening. Hi, Mom. And the time is so fast, and we've come to the end of our program. Elsie, what is your message for all for dog owners out there in terms of enriching the lives of their dogs, dog training, and good canine citizenship? Wow, that's a big thing, but take it away, whatever you can. Mm-hmm.
What's the message? This is the message. A dog it's a big it's a real responsibility. Okay, it's another living creature, and if we bring one into our lives, we need to take care of it. And taking care of it includes giving it the basics: food, water, shelter. In addition, medical care, veterinary care. And we need to make sure that the dog is happy and stable and well balanced. So give it the time and attention it needs. Give it exercise, mental stimulation, and keep open that line of communication. Mm-hmm. Okay? Train your dog so that you can manage your dog and your dog can manage itself. Mm-hmm. Okay? And be sure to be your dog's guide and guardian. Okay?
Yeah.
Guide, because we need to tell our dogs what the rules of society are. Mm-hmm. And after all, we've brought it into our society.